I initially started by building just like brands for myself. So I was in a variety of different niches, a lot of apparel type brands. And what ended up happening, we were using a dropship model. And what ended up happening actually last year, towards the end of last year, which was amazing, was we started getting a few celebrity clients, right? That would just buy our apparel, buy our products. And we had one of them actually reach out to us and they were like, man, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. How can I hire you to do what you're doing for yourself for me? And so it was a very interesting proposal because I didn't want to be hired by anybody because, entrepreneur, want to be free, do my own thing. But I kind of reached back out to him and I was like, hey, why don't we partner up, right? Like you leverage your brand, I leverage my marketing and my skills of building infrastructure, and we work together.
Welcome to the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow, where we get inside the minds of today's leading viral marketers as they reveal the exact strategies they use to build brands, products, and campaigns that are magnetic to customers, spread like wildfire, and seize the attention of millions. This is Viral by Design.
So welcome to another episode of Viral by Design. I'm very excited today to be joined by Jeet Banerjee. Jeet is a serial entrepreneur, a tech expert, a consultant, an author, a blogger, and a TEDx speaker as well. He started his first company, JB Media Force, at 17 and immediately started picking up clients. He established an offshore team to handle projects and while taking care of the sales himself, which he did from the US. He sold that company and quickly began working on another project. And in February 2012, he launched StatFuse along with his partner, which he sold in 2017 to Lend Edu. So, Jeet, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Really excited to dig into your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
Pleasure. So I know that, when you were a kid, you had a few, even as young, I think as about 12 years old, you had a bunch of ideas and things that you wanted to get off the ground. And, eventually you did at 17. So I'd love for you to just tell us a bit more about that backstory and what was different, what was successful about JB Media Force.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I kind of got started dabbling into entrepreneurship, it was kind of coming in spurts when I was younger, and I never looked at it from a business or monetary standpoint or anything like that. Like I made my first website when I was like 9 years old, for example, and that was just because I loved watching basketball and I ran out of awesome basketball videos to watch. So I was like, I want to put my favorite list of videos together. So, I went to the library, got a book and started coding out a website. But it didn't really have any monetary purpose. Like I bought a domain and I just made a website. Then kind of around like 12 or 13, I started getting into gaming, started finding different ways to monetize within the games that I was playing in, found myself in a lot of trouble really quickly, didn't know about intellectual property and all that good stuff. So got a nice cease and desist when I was there. And then again, I kind of got thrown off the path of entrepreneurship because, you get a cease and desist at 12, your parents aren't gonna be too happy. And then really what was different about JB Media Force was I actually had a purpose for what I was trying to achieve, because before I was just doing stuff just out of boredom or just because it seemed cool to do. But when I got a couple of jobs at 15 and I actually worked, part-time jobs, I worked a variety of different jobs, I quickly realized I was not built to work a job. Like I hated everything about it. I would get fired or quit from every single job. And then at 17, it was like, man, if I don't work for myself and make it, I'm going to have to do that for the rest of my life. So I was driven with the purpose of making money and really focusing on tangible goals. And I think that's what made it different. It was kind of like my serious business that I created because I had to succeed.
That's great, man. So JB Media Force, that was an agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what were you doing for clients? And I know you offshored quite a lot of the work that you were doing eventually. So you managed to automate the business and kind of remove yourself from it. So what was that kind of process like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started just offering website design and website development. And then once we got into that, it really expanded into a lot more. Like after we make a website, clients would be like, well, how do I get traffic? Give me traffic. So I'll pay you more money for traffic. So that's where I really learned online marketing was, I was fortunate to have clients that really didn't care that I had no marketing experience. They were like, I'm going to give you money, figure it out. So I got to learn online marketing on other people's dollars, which I recommend to everyone out there that's trying to get into online marketing. It's far more expensive learning it, trying to build your own stuff, than it is to do it for somebody else, especially if they're open to doing it. So that's where I really got my foot in the door and I fell in love with kind of the marketing aspect of the business. But we also did like mobile apps, video production, kind of like basic add-on services that our existing clients would really want. And when it came to really automating the business, I just quickly realized which part of the businesses that I was very passionate about. And from the beginning, it was about marketing, closing deals, and sales. Those were the three parts of the business I loved. And then when it came to stuff like project management or offering support to my clients or actually building the websites and stuff out, I had no interest in it. I had no passion in it. And I would start to lose passion for my business. So I quickly figured out, okay, let me start finding freelancers first. So I worked with freelancers first, really started building up cash flow, saving money. And then I decided to build an entire offshore office with a team so that I could focus on the one thing that I was the best at and the one thing that I was truly passionate about while having other people do all the other parts of the business that, I didn't really want to be a part of.
It's a great move, man. It's so possible today, right? It's just, something which so many people overlook. It's like, running a business, I'm going to have to get like an office and like physical premises and people in the US or in the West. But yeah, it's so possible, right, to set something up where, so long as you get the systems, the processes in place that you can have like a fully functioning business offshore. So you mentioned that you were most passionate about the sales, the marketing, those kind of elements. So what did that look like for you? How were you like acquiring clients back then? You're 17 years old, like, potentially that could work for you or against you, right? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So really the way that I was doing it was had two big methods that really worked well for me. The first one was I would sit on Craigslist on so I would literally have every tab open on Craigslist of every different location because it's sorted by location, by state. And there was a section there that was like people that are looking to hire for services. And so you could sort it by web and, design. And so every time a job posting would be, or a request for services would be posted, I would call, email, or text them within like a minute because I would just sit there, refresh. And my thought process was if I can be there first, I think I have a good chance of closing them. And so that was like one of the biggest ways that I got a lot of clients. And it was actually unbelievable how well it worked at the time. And then the second thing was I had back in the day, like people might not even know this now, but there was these big yellow books. They used to be called the yellow pages. And it would have a list of every single business and their phone number. So what I would do in my downtime was I would type in each company's name on Google and see if they had a website. If their website was nice, I wouldn't call them. But if their website was non-existent or it wasn't as good, I would literally just cold call them and I would be like, hey, I just came across your website. And if I did X, Y, and Z to your website, I think I could increase your sales or your traffic by 200%. How does that sound? And everyone's answer to that is, oh, that'd be amazing. Who doesn't want 200% more traffic? And so really cold calling was another big method that worked well for me.
That's great, man. So, and then you sold it not too long after, right? So did you seek to sell it or did somebody get in contact with you and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I'd like to buy it?
Yeah. So actually for that company, I actually seeked out a seller myself. One of the big things that I kind of realized that after a couple of years of running that business, and I was in a client meeting when I got this message was, I was working with a client trying to close him, and this client, he was kind of one of those rooter clients. So he was like, hey, this is my price. This is my timeline. You either do it or you walk away. And I remember at the end of it, he said something that really stuck to me, which was, if you don't do this, there's a million other people that do exactly what you do, this agency business. I'll just go to one of them. And it was at that moment when I went home that night, I was like, man, this guy is really right. Like, there is a great amount of demand, but there is also a good amount of supply. And I really want to get into something more disruptive, something more innovative. So that's when I started pivoting and starting to get into, building my own startup company based on an idea or concept that, really wasn't in the market. And so at that point, once I figured out something I wanted to do, I decided to reach out to people that I thought would be a good buyer for the company and sell the company and move on.
Nice, man. So then the startup that you moved on to, so this is helping students, right? Can you go into a bit more detail about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what we did is we created a software where students could come in that are in high school, plug in like all of their education, their scores, test scores, all that stuff. And it would tell them their chances of getting into universities across the United States.
That's cool.
And it would also show them how they can improve their chances, what strengths to focus on, what weaknesses to focus on. So we basically kind of took on the role of like a college consultant, but using like software and tech.
Right. That's amazing. Nice, man. So are you still running that now, or is that the one that you sold?
Yeah. So that was the company that we sold back in 2017 now.
Nice. So what is it now? Now, as far as I understand, you got to helping people to establish what their kind of passion is, right? And you're coaching people through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I do two main things. I run a conglomerate of e-commerce brands, and the other thing I do is I help people start their first, whether it's online business or generate their first income online. So
Right.
I've got like a bunch of different courses. We do like weekly live calls. It's an entire academy that I've put together. They get access to like chat groups. We do stock picks. Basically, anyone that's interested in making money online, like this is the place you got to be if you want to, make money online.
That's cool as hell, man. So the e-commerce brands, what kind of thing you focus on there and what you find the most profitable out of interest?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do two things. So I initially started by building just like brands for myself. So I was in a variety of different niches, a lot of apparel type brands. And what ended up happening, we were using a dropship model. And what ended up happening actually last year, towards the end of last year, which was amazing, was we started getting a few celebrity clients, right? That would just buy our apparel, buy our products. And we had one of them actually reach out to us and they were like, man, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. How can I hire you to do what you're doing for yourself for me? And so it was a very interesting proposal because I didn't want to be hired by anybody because, entrepreneur, want to be free, do my own thing. But I kind of reached back out to him and I was like, hey, why don't we partner up? Right? Like you leverage your brand, I leverage my marketing and my skills of building infrastructure, and we work together. So that first drop went amazing. And then from there, he started referring us to other people and we started just getting plugged in the industry. And so now we're at almost like 20 celebrity clients that we work with, and we're looking to get to about 100 by the end of year. And we just help them with their merchandising and e-commerce fully on a partnership basis.
That's amazing, man. So with these guys, are you actually doing the sourcing of the products for them as well? Are you literally like taking the whole thing, or do they come to you and say, "Hey, we got these products, we got this supplier," and then you put together the online infrastructure?
Yeah, so for most of them, we're basically doing everything A to Z, full service. We do have a couple people that either have a product idea or they have someone that's already made some products for them, and they're like, "Hey, we just need help with the manufacturing aspect, or sorry, the marketing aspect of it," type of thing. So then we'll kind of work with them, but most of them is just full service.
Nice, man. Are they driving all their traffic to you just from like they've got followings online, or are you running ads?
Yeah, so we'll do a lot of like running ads. We also leverage their organic channels. That's also a big traffic source for us. And then we'll also use like cross promotion with our network of celebrities and influencers too.
Nice, man. That's incredible. So what a varied background. Like, it's, you obviously done like a really broad range of things. What's like your kind of future? What are you shooting for? What's the big kind of goal and dream for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think two big goals that I have set forth for me is I really want to help at least 1 million people find their footing in online businesses and create online income for themselves. Kind of that's like my passion project. And then I think from like the e-commerce standpoint, I think I'm very, very passionate about building a massive direct to consumer brand that, we can one day take public and have as a publicly traded company. So those are really like the two big goals we have right now.
That's great, man. That's a great goal. So when you're helping people to kind of uncover like their purpose and to establish themselves online and generate income, which is so possible, right? It's way more possible than most people give it credit for. What is it you find with most of your students that's really holding them back? Like what's stopping them from getting started or getting to the next level?
Honestly, I think it's two things. I think it's lack of action or fear. And I think the second one is procrastination, right? So I think a lot of people want it, but then they kind of talk themselves out of it, right? They're always making excuses. Oh, I might not have time. Oh, this seems too complicated. Oh, I don't have money. Or, oh, I'm super busy with this right now. And I think like the amount of times I've had where people have come into my program and never taken action is honestly absolutely insane. And I think fear, doubt, all of these things cause that to be a big issue. And then I would say procrastination is obviously, I think that's just like a problem across the board for a lot of things that, whenever people have goals, they don't do it. But I think those are the two biggest reasons why I see students not, being able to take that next leap.
Yeah. If you were getting started again now, if you're back at 17 years old and you had the knowledge that you've got now, what would you be doing differently?
Honestly, I think the two biggest differences I would do now compared to what I did before. I have no regrets when it comes to like the businesses I started or anything like that, because I think it was all about the timing and the opportunity. Like back in 2010, 2011, websites were huge. Right now, it's like e-commerce is huge. So it's always about capitalizing on opportunities. But the one thing I wish I did is I wish I said no more often back then, because I never valued my time like the way I value my time today. And, I was a very much of a yes man back then. And nowadays I've realized that, it's okay. It's not rude. It's not a negative thing if I don't take on everything. I got to pick and choose my spots. And I really think the second thing would be the way I really look at my perception of money. I think back then it was a goal of, let me make as much money as possible. Let me be very, very reserved with my money. So let's not take big risks with investments. Let's, not try to grow the companies too fast and all of that kind of stuff. And I look back and I think it's so funny because at 17, I had a roof over my head. I had parents that would pay for anything if I needed them to. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a spouse, nothing. It's like, why not take every risk in the books? Because the worst thing that happens to me is I just reset myself back to where I was then. So really, being able to take bigger risks, more investments and all that stuff, rather than being focused on, let me just get a bunch of money and just tuck it away under the mattress or in the bank account.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely resonate with that, man. I've had a few of those kind of resets, as I refer to them, where like things go very wrong. You end up in a crap situation, And I think anybody who's been in any kind of level of business for a decent amount of time, you do get that stuff, right? And it was only the other day actually reflecting on how much of a positive those things can be. Like the kind of reset, the opportunity to find new opportunities, the opportunity to meet new people and to be forced out of your comfort zone, right? So have you kind of experienced any of them, like without actually putting yourself out as much as you would do now? Have you still kind of experienced those resets and those times of like, crap, everything's falling out from underneath me and having to kind of grow to overcome that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I would even say like, nowadays, I feel like nowadays, like maybe I wouldn't call it a reset, but I kind of call them like lessons. I feel like they happen even more often than they did in the beginning. Yeah. And I think it's like, because nowadays I'm more aware. Because before, it's like, you're not even aware sometimes when you're taking a loss or you're, falling back 5 steps or something. But nowadays, because I've become so much more aware of it, I feel like it happens every single day. And it's also a testament to the fact that, today I take way more risks than I did 10 years ago. And that's also, when you take more risks, you're going to put yourself at more exposure, right? There is the more risks I take, there's a better chance I'm going to fail even more times, or I'm going to face challenges and obstacles. But no, that honestly happens to me all the time, even today. And I think it's just a big part of the journey if you really, really want to get there. And I would love to tell people that your journey is just going to be like a straight curve up to the top and you're not going to have ups and downs and dips, but it's just not realistic, right? So my perspective has changed a lot on it, where nowadays I treat those dips as like, this is meant to be, right? I'm glad it's not a plummet and it's a little dip, because now I can recuperate, I can learn, and I can bounce right back. And it's like necessary, basically, it's like, I consider it almost like necessary preparation for me to reach the end goal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's a great perspective. And it's a fantastic journey that you got. Really impressive how young you started, and all the things that you're doing now is just testament to a great attitude and a fantastic journey. So where can people find out more about what you do? Obviously, you mentioned a few resources that you have available to people. Where can people get involved with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, the best way to really get connected with me is probably Instagram. And my handle on Instagram is at the Jeet Banerjee. And people could DM me, find my programs, offers, and I share a lot of value in my stories and stuff like that too. So I'm sure people could get some value out of it.
That's great, man. We'll make sure all the links are in and around the podcast on the website. Thanks again, Jeet, for spending the time on it. It's been great learning about your journey, hearing about what you're up to. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
This has been the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow. For more viral marketing secrets and to get detailed cliff notes on all episodes, visit viralbydesign.net.